right, class, section 1.1, identify points, lines, and planes. Here we go. So the most basic figures in geometry are undefined terms. So that's your first blank, undefined terms. Those undefined terms are point, line, and plane. Point, line, and plane. They cannot be defined by using other figures. They are the building blocks of geometry. So they are what makes up all of the figures and shapes that you see in geometry. Points, lines, and planes. So today we're going to go over these definitions, and then we'll look at some examples tomorrow. So a point has no dimension, and it is represented by a dot. So I've got my dot, I have a point. But the point needs a name, so we'll call it A. The notation is just writing that out. Point A. Giving it a name. Then a line has one dimension. It is represented by a line with two arrowheads. So if I have my line, I've got my arrowheads showing that it's going both directions. Now to name our line, if we have no points on it, we can name it L. Now that's just a cursive L that's used to name a line. If we know some points, say we've got a point there on the line and a point there on the line, and maybe that's point A and point B, we can say it's line AB. So the notation of that, there are different ways we can name this. We can either say line L, line AB written out, but it could also be line BA. We can name it either direction. It doesn't have to be alphabetical. There's one other way we can name these. If we wanted to use just the letters, we would need to put that double arrowhead line above the letters, showing that it's a line. And that could also be BA instead of AB, as long as you've got the double arrowhead line above it. So those are the different ways we can name a line. All right, a plane. A plane has two dimensions, and it is represented by a shape that looks like a floor or a wall. So maybe a four-sided figure looks like could be a floor, could be a wall. And then we need to name that plane. So we may name the plane, we can really give it any name we want. We can just call this plane M. We could use any letter to name it. But if we had some points on the plane, say we have point A here, maybe point B here, point C there. As long as we know 3 points on the plane, we can use those letters, those points, to name the plane. So for our notation, we know we can name it plane M. We already called it M. If we didn't have that, and we just had those points, we could call it plane A, B, C. Or CBA, or BAC, or BCA. But you can name any plane with 3 points. All right, collinear. Collinear are points that lie on the same line. They're points that lie on the same line. So if we've got our line, and we have point A, point B, and point C, we know that A, B, and C are collinear. Points that lie on the same line are collinear. So if we know points that lie on the same line are collinear, what do you think coplanar is? They're points that lie in the same plane. So points that lie in the same plane are collinear. So if we draw our plane, and we have our points, point A, point B, point C, we know points A, B, and C are on the same plane. They are coplanar. A, B, and C are coplanar. Non-collinear. So they're points that do not lie on the same line. So if we have a line, maybe we've got a couple points on the line, point A and B, but point C is not. So we know A, B, and C are not all on the same line. A, B, and C are not collinear. Non-coplanar. Very similar, points that do not lie on the same plane. So if we draw our plane again, we have a couple points on the plane. And a point off the plane. Actually, I'm going to put another point on the plane so we could name that plane. But it wouldn't matter. A, B, C, and D are not all on the same plane. So A, B, C, and D are not coplanar. A, B, and D are coplanar, but if we included C in that, it would not. They are non-coplanar, so they're not on the same plane. Next is a line segment, and that is part of a line that consists of 2 points called endpoints and all the points between them. So think of a line, but we're not going to do the double arrowheads. This is a line segment. It's not the full line. It says it consists of 2 points called endpoints. So if we have point A and point B at the end of that straight line, there are endpoints. The line does not extend beyond. If we're going to name those, let's say line segment AB, it would just have a line above it with no double arrowheads or no single arrowhead, just that straight line above it. Or we can name it the other way, BA, just with that line above it. That is a line segment. Next is a ray. A ray is part of a line that starts at an endpoint and extends forever in one direction. So if I have my line, I would have it extend forever in one direction, so I'd have my arrow. But on the other end, I would have an endpoint. Endpoint of A. If I also had, probably also have another point on the ray of B, and then I could name my ray AB, and that will have an arrow above AB, a line with the arrowhead. Or name it the other way, BA, with that arrow as well. Actually, let me change that real quick. That arrow should be facing the other direction. Like that. So whether we name it AB or BA, we do need to have the arrow going in the correct direction to signify where the end point is. So if somebody needed to recreate that, they would see, all right, A is not with the arrow, that's my end point. B is with the arrow, that's just a point between the end point and on forever. Next up is opposite rays. And they are two rays that have a common endpoint and form a line. So if I had, let's say, a ray here, that's my point A, and we also have point B on there. Opposite ray is they have the same endpoint, but it goes the opposite direction from there, and it's going to form a line. So now we have line CAB, but the opposite rays, we have ray AB, and we have ray AC. These are both rays, and they are opposite rays that make a line. And then lastly, in the definitions, we have intersection. The intersection of two or more geometric figures is the set of points that the figures have in common. So what that is when two lines intersect, they intersect at a point. We had a line here and a line here. They would intersect at a point. For two planes are going to intersect at a line. So this will be tricky drawing, but I'll do my best. So here we have a plane. And then I need to draw a plane that intersects that. You can see they would intersect at that line. So that green plane is more vertical. The blue plane is more horizontal if you need to wrap your mind around what that looks like. But they intersect at a line. All right, that's it for the definitions. Tomorrow we'll go over some examples.